On March 6, 2026, just 3 days ago, one of the most quietly devastating documents in Cleveland Browns history was filed with the NFL League office. It was not a trade, it was not a signing, it was a contract restructure. A few numbers shifted on a spreadsheet, bonuses converted, salaries deferred, and in the process of moving those numbers around, nearly $36 million in salary cap space was unlocked for the Cleveland Browns to use this offseason. It was announced in a press release, it was covered as routine business, and if you were not paying close attention, you might have missed the full weight of what it actually meant. Because that contract restructure was not just a financial maneuver, it was a declaration. It was the Cleveland Browns telling the entire NFL world and two young quarterbacks inside their own building that the man who has played 19 games in 4 seasons, who has not thrown a meaningful pass since October of 2024, who missed the entire 2025 season recovering from not one but 2 separate Achilles surgeries, who has been the subject of allegations, suspensions, lawsuits, and arguably the most catastrophic contract in professional sports history, that man is still here. Deshaun Watson is still here. And now, with $36 million freed up and free agency opening today, the QB war inside the Cleveland Browns facility is about to explode into something nobody inside or outside this league fully anticipated. This is the complete story of how one franchise got here and why what happens next may define the next decade of Cleveland Browns football. To understand the full weight of what is unfolding right now in Cleveland, you have to go back to a single moment in March of 2022, because everything, every contract restructure, every quarterback competition, every draft pick spent, every piece of this 4-year disaster flows directly from one decision made by one organization on one Tuesday afternoon in the spring of 4 years ago. On March 18, 2022, the Cleveland Browns completed a trade with the Houston Texans, acquiring quarterback Deshaun Watson along with a 2024 6th-round draft pick. In exchange, Cleveland sent the Texans their first-round picks in 2022, 2023, and 2024, along with a 3rd-round pick in 2023 and 4th-round picks in 2022 and 2024. And immediately after completing the trade, the Browns signed Watson to a fully guaranteed 5-year, $230 million contract, the largest guaranteed deal in NFL history at the time of signing. Newsweek. 3 first-round picks, $230 million, every dollar guaranteed. This was the most aggressive, most expensive, most controversial quarterback acquisition in the history of professional football. And the Browns did not do it quietly. They did it in the full view of the entire league, while Watson was still facing over 24 civil lawsuits from women who accused him of sexual misconduct during massage therapy sessions. They did it while the NFL investigation into his conduct was still ongoing. They did it anyway. Those allegations described a pattern of behavior involving at least 66 different massage therapists over a 17-month period while Watson was playing for the Houston Texans, ESPN. The lawsuits were settled, the criminal charges were not pursued, but the NFL still acted. Watson was suspended for 11 games in 2022 for off-field conduct related to the sexual misconduct allegations, fined a record $5 million, and required to undergo evaluation by behavioral experts and complete a treatment program. Bleacher Report. He missed the first 11 games of the 2022 season. The Browns started that year with a backup quarterback, and when Watson finally returned, when the man they had given $230 million fully guaranteed to finally ran out onto the field, the football was bad. Watson's performance in 2022 placed him among the bottom tier of NFL quarterbacks, with a completion percentage of 59.8%, 41st in the NFL among quarterbacks with a minimum of 300 pass attempts. His average passing yards per attempt was 6.5 yards, 36th in the NFL. His passer rating was 81.7, 37th in the NFL. Newsweek.
Not just below average, not just disappointing, bottom third in the league. The highest-paid quarterback in NFL history, statistically speaking, was performing at a backup level in the games he was actually allowed to play. Then 2023. Watson returned for a full season, and before that season even found its rhythm, he suffered a displaced fracture to the glenoid in his right shoulder during a game in Week 10. He underwent season-ending surgery on November 21st. Yahoo Sports. Another season lost, another year of dead cap space, another year of zero return on the $230 million investment. Then 2024. Watson came back. The Browns and their fan base told themselves this was the year. This was the real comeback. This was when they would finally see the player they had traded 3 first-round picks for. In the Week 1 opener against the Dallas Cowboys, Watson threw for 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and was sacked 6 times in a 33-17 loss. He was 0 for 10 on passes thrown 15 or more yards downfield, the first quarterback since SportRadar began tracking air yards in 2006 to have 10 or more such attempts with 0 completions. Yahoo Sports. Week after week, the same story. The Browns could not score 20 points in any of his starts. He did not.
And then it got worse, much worse. In January 2025, Watson suffered a second rupture to his right Achilles tendon and missed the entire 2025 NFL season. The same tendon, torn twice. The quarterback was gone for the whole year, all of 2025. While 2 rookies fought over his starting job, while the Browns went 5-12, while a new head coach was being interviewed, while the franchise continued restructuring his contract to make the cap numbers work. He was not there. He was in a rehab facility, trying to teach a tendon that had been torn twice to function like it once did. By the time the 2025 season ended, Over the Cap confirmed that the Watson trade had resulted in the worst contract in NFL history. The Browns had been forced to prorate 97.44% of the entire contract due to its salary cap impact. He had started 19 games. The Browns had gone 9-10 in those contests. 9 wins and 10 losses. That is the on-field return on $230 million fully guaranteed and 3 first-round draft picks. 9 wins and 10 losses. And the first-round picks that went to Houston, those picks were used by the Texans to draft several Pro Bowlers and starting players, including Defensive Rookie of the Year Will Anderson Jr. The picks that built Cleveland's rival became the foundation of a franchise that is now one of the most promising young teams in the AFC. Meanwhile, Cleveland is still paying for the man they gave those picks away for in 2026, in 2027, in 2028. When the Watson nightmare finally reaches its contractual conclusion after 2026, the cap hits will not stop. Cleveland will carry a $34.6 million dead cap hit in 2027 and a $51.6 million. The Browns restructured Watson's contract for what ESPN confirmed will be the final time, converting $44.7 million of his salary into a signing bonus. The move freed close to $36 million in cap space, dropping Watson's 2026 cap hit from $80.7 million, the largest single-player cap charge in the entire NFL, down to approximately $44.9 million. Fox News. This was the 4th straight offseason the Browns had restructured Watson's deal, and the 6th restructure overall. It will be the last because 2026 is the final year of the contract. Military.com. After this restructure, Over the Cap confirmed the team now sits at approximately $18 million in cap space, a number that includes their trade for offensive tackle Titus Howard, the war zone. $18 million. In a free agency market where top quarterbacks like Malik Willis are seeking contracts north of $40 million per year, that is not a lot of room to operate. But it is room. Room that did not exist before Friday.
room that Andrew Berry is now going to use to try to build a roster that can compete in Todd Monken's first year as head coach. But the restructure did something beyond just creating cap space. It answered the question that every Browns fan, every analyst, every reporter had been asking since the 2025 season ended. Was Deshaun Watson coming back? Was he going to be cut? Was he going to be released before the new year? Was there any scenario in which the Browns could get out from under the contract entirely? As CBS Sports had outlined previously, cutting Watson was never financially viable. Even a post-June 1 designation would have resulted in $72.9 million in dead cap, an almost unimaginable number. The Browns were trapped. The contract was fully guaranteed. The only option was to keep him and try to make the numbers work. CBSSports.com. By restructuring on March 6th and converting nearly the entire remaining salary into a bonus, the Browns made their position absolutely clear. Watson is on the roster.
New offensive coordinator Travis Switzer stood in front of media days before the restructure and said this about Deshaun. "We're excited about Deshaun. Anytime you have a guy who has had the success that he's had, he's got to be part of the equation as far as when we talk about competing for that job." And there it is, the offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, days before free agency opens, saying Deshaun Watson has to be part of the equation. Not because of what he has done in Cleveland, not because of what he has done in the past 4 years, but because of what he did in Houston. Because of the Pro Bowl seasons he put together in 2018, 2019, and 2020. Because of the year he led the league with 4,823 passing yards. Because of the ceiling that talent evaluators still see when they watch his pre-injury tape. Yahoo Sports reported that there is a growing undercurrent of belief inside the Cleveland Browns building that Watson could make a serious push at the starting job. His December practice window performance, when the Browns opened his 21-day window late in the 2025 season, reportedly turned heads inside the facility. And league talent evaluators say that in an open competition, Watson's athletic ceiling and processing ceiling each surpass those of Sanders, the Mirror.
Front 1, the Shedeur Sanders situation. The second-year quarterback who earned everything he has through pure fight and determination, who arrived in Cleveland as a fifth-round pick and sat at the bottom of a depth chart that did not believe in him, who worked his way up, who got his chance when Gabriel got hurt, who won his first start, who threw for 364 yards and 4 touchdowns in his best game, who made the Pro Bowl as a replacement player, and who is now being told publicly and on record by his head coach, his general manager, and league talent evaluators that his job is not safe. At the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, General Manager Andrew Berry was asked directly whether he considered Sanders his starter going into 2026. His answer was not a yes. It was this: "We don't have to make that decision anytime soon. I think any player that we have in that room we would expect to compete to earn a role. Those two would be no different." Those two, Sanders and Watson, equal competitors, no incumbent, no frontrunner, and open competition. And when asked what he specifically needed to see from Sanders to justify naming him the starter, Berry's answer was pointed. "I think the biggest thing that we want to see from Shedeur is just continued growth. I think he grew a lot from start 1 to start 7. I think certainly playing more efficiently, not putting the ball in harm's way as much, would be important, while maintaining the ability to produce out of structure and generate explosive plays." Not putting the ball in harm's way. That is the polished professional way of saying the 10 interceptions you threw in 7 starts are a problem. That the turnovers have to come down, that the quarterback who made the Pro Bowl still has fundamental issues. Head coach Todd Monken was even more blunt at the Combine. Asked whether there was a starter already determined in Cleveland's quarterback room, he said, "I don't know why it wouldn't be an open competition. And I don't mean that saying it harshly, But I don't think there's enough on film over the last couple years, one way or the other, to say we have a starter at quarterback yet, whether internally or externally. That phrase, externally or internally, is the most important part, because it is not just media people who are uncertain about whether Shedeur Sanders is a starting caliber NFL quarterback. The people inside the building are uncertain too. The people who watch his practices, who review his film sessions, who track his decision-making in real time, they are uncertain. And the head coach just said so out loud in front of cameras at the NFL Combine. NFL Network analyst Daniel Jeremiah, one of the most respected talent evaluators in the sport, went on air and said something that stopped the entire Cleveland media landscape cold. Watson, Jeremiah said, is the front-runner to the Browns' starting QB. The front-runner, not Sanders, not a free agent acquisition, not a draft pick. Deshaun Watson, the man who has not played since October 2024, the man who tore his Achilles twice, the man who has a 9-10 record and a 79.0 passer rating in Cleveland. That man, according to one of the NFL's most respected evaluators, is currently the front-runner for the starting quarterback.
The free agent quarterback class this year is headlined by Malik Willis, rated the #1 available quarterback according to ESPN's Matt Bowen. Willis had a strong 2025 season as the Green Bay Packers backup, and his market is projected to be substantial. Daniel Jones is also available. Anthony Richardson has been made available for trade by the Indianapolis Colts. Kyler Murray has also surfaced as a possible trade target. But Browns insider Mary Kay Cabot poured cold water on the idea that Cleveland would spend aggressively on a veteran quarterback. I don't see anyone that I think that they would point blank right now decide that they can be better than what they can get out of Deshaun Watson or even Shedeur Sanders, Cabot said. I've been saying this for weeks and weeks that I don't think Malik Willis is going to end up here, and then I just don't know if Kyler Murray is going to give you more than what you think you can get from Deshaun right now. Irish Star. So the insider closest to this organization, the person who has been inside the building, inside the meetings, inside the conversations that the public never hears, is saying she does not expect a major quarterback addition in free agency. She is saying the Browns front office looks at Watson and Sanders and believes that combination gives them as much or more than any external option they could realistically acquire. That is either a vote of confidence in two quarterbacks who have struggled, or it is the honest admission of a franchise that simply does not have the financial flexibility to do anything else, given that they are still paying $44.9 million in cap space for a quarterback who may or may not be able to play at a competitive level after 2 Achilles surgeries. One significant complication that league sources flagged to ESPN: Malik Willis shares the same agent as Deshaun Watson. Watson is aiming to return to his starting role. A team signing Willis would essentially be bringing in a direct competitor for his client's job through the same representation. That dynamic makes a Willis to Cleveland scenario unlikely on a fundamental level. Newsweek. Browns journalist Mary Kay Cabot issued a public warning to the organization about how to handle the competition. The Browns can't afford to head into training camp with a 4-way competition for the second straight season. They must try to identify their QB1 and QB2 in the off-season program and minicamp and let those two battle it out at the most. Newsweek. That warning matters because what Cabot is saying is that the chaos of 2025, 4 quarterbacks on the depth chart, unclear hierarchy, constant uncertainty, cannot be repeated in 2026. The franchise needs to pick a direction, commit to it, and build around it, not shuffle names on a whiteboard for 5 months before grudgingly naming a starter in September. The organization destroyed Dillon Gabriel's confidence and potentially his career by subjecting him to exactly that kind of sustained uncertainty. They cannot do the same thing to Watson and Sanders.